Coming up, Delaware County authorities arrest a man for outstanding warrants and receiving stolen property.
It's hard to tell by looking at these temperatures right here, but we're actually in store for a little bit of a holiday warm-up. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we saw our share of snow and ice over the weekend. Coming up, we've got some tips for dealing with winter weather if you have to get out on the roads.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Buck. Yes, we did see some snow over the weekend, and it's still on the ground.
And as a matter of fact, those driving tips you have are going to come in very, very handy, not only for later this week because we got another cold front on the way, but for this morning, Tanya, because even on the way here, I saw multiple spots that refroze overnight. So we do have some slick spots, especially out on side roads. Take a look at our sky camera. This is 7th and Range Line. We're frozen over right now. I can't even tell you if we're going to have a whole lot of holiday traffic. But it gives you an indication that we are squarely way below the freezing mark. 27 right now in Joplin. We have seen a 30 in Chanute, but only 21 in Miami and 26 in Carthage. Now, Midwest is going to be quiet for the most part. We'll actually begin our thaw out today. Big winter storm still battering the northeastern portion of the United States. But we'll stay on the dry side today and eventually, with a good amount of sunshine, be able to work up into the mid-40s. So that's not too bad whatsoever. Give you an idea about future track. That's just cloud cover rolling through, and as it does for Tuesday into Wednesday, this is why those driving tips Tanya's going to have for us may come in handy, because the cold front's going to hit us squarely in the middle of the week, and as it does, some Gulf precipitation has a chance to flip over into a little bit of that freezing rain. We don't like that pink color one bit. 7-day forecast shows you we get Monday and Tuesday made in the shade. It's Wednesday when that cold front that'll hit and drop us down to the 20s there for both Wednesday and Thursday.
All right, thanks, Michael. Officers in Delaware County arrest a man with outstanding warrants involving stolen property, and federal charges are pending. Gerald Starr was taken into custody on outstanding warrants from the Cherokee Nation. According to Sheriff James Beck, Starr became a person of interest earlier this month when he allegedly stole a trailer. Authorities searched his property at the time, but nothing was found. Following a second search warrant, authorities located an item of interest in Starr's storage unit and alerted federal agencies. Officials say they located Starr in a stolen travel trailer at an RV park in Oklahoma following the third search warrant. Authorities say they found approximately $70,000 worth of stolen items, and more federal charges are coming. A person is dead after a shooting aboard an Amtrak train in Missouri, and the suspect is still on the run. Police say the shooting happened Friday night while the train was stopped at the Lee Summit train station. Officers say the train left the station after the shooting and continued to its next stop with the wounded person still on board. Police got the initial call for the shooting at 9:15 p.m. after the train reached Independence. EMS crews declared the victim was dead when they arrived. Officers say the suspect was a passenger on the train and got off the train in Lee Summit. It's unclear why the train kept moving after the shooting. University of Kansas suspended 2 fraternities for hazing earlier this month, but officials do not plan to share their investigation with police. Pi Gamma Delta and Pi Delta Theta were both suspended from campus for 5 years because of the incidents university officials found, which included assaults, sleep deprivation, forced workouts, destruction of pledges property, and retaliation for reporting the behavior to university officials. Winter storm whiteouts always bring out the hunt for 2 key food staples, and experts explain why. Bread and milk. They become the sources of life in weather food panics, and experts say that's because they're the backbone of our cooking and diet in the U.S. Other non-U.S. cultures base their diets differently, but Americans are conditioned to get them because they're perishable and are not stocked long. Experts say to avoid food panic, have 2 weeks of non-perishable supplies on hand and make emergency preparedness kits for homes and vehicles. Well, roads once again turned treacherous across the region. Anyone who had to be outside on the roads this weekend knows how dangerous it can be with current conditions. And whether you're in Missouri, Kansas, or Oklahoma, Sergeant Nate Jones with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office said on Saturday they started to get calls. They had cars slide off the roads early on Saturday. He offers some advice for anyone out on winter roads.
If you're going to be out there, we just ask you increase your following distance, slow down, If you have your wipers on, headlights on, make sure you give yourself enough time to slow down coming up to intersections. I know state and local road and highway crews are out, but they're focused on the primary roadways, so secondary roads could still be dangerous. But we're very thankful for the state and county guys out trying to keep the roads clear.
Sergeant Nate Jones also says on days when roads are icy, there's no need to rush, so give yourself plenty of time to get where you need to be and make sure to take it slow. Calypso Scuba in Joplin held an underwater Texas Hold'em tournament, but not just because it sounded like a cool idea. For a $20 entry fee, you could take part in the tournament, and that fee going to the Joplin area firefighters' charitable causes. There were prizes awarded to the top 4 players. Organizers say giving back is just something they love to do as often as they can.
We know enough of the firemen. We know the sacrifices they make and the good things that they very quietly do for the entire community and each other, and especially little children who are, standing there watching everything they own burn up, and to be able to be handed a warm blanket and a stuffed animal, it just means the world. So we are really happy to help and to have the community come out too.
In addition, there was a chili contest, which was a perfect addition for such a winter's day. Over the weekend, the Joplin Public Library held a special presentation. It's called City of Hope, Resurrection City, and the 1968 Poor People's Campaign. Poster exhibit honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s final vision for all Americans to be equal. The exhibit examines the Poor People's Campaign, which drew thousands to Washington to demand social reform while living in a tent city called Resurrection City. It features 18 posters said to help people engage with the historical and present-day relevance. City of Hope is on display now until February 28th. It's 5:07.
Whoo, look at these wind chills out throughout southwest Missouri. My goodness, slipping as low as 14 is what it feels like right now in Mount Vernon. Only 15 in Webb City, even southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma. Only 20s. Even Grove and Jay, all the way down to 15 and 16. Now our temperatures, that's what it feels like. Our temperatures sitting about mid-20s right now. Eventually though, seasonable temps. How about mid-40s, plenty of sunshine, little southwesterly breeze. Overnight back down to the 30s, mostly clear skies and wind chills dropping back down to the 20s. But should get a pretty good melt today, and Tuesday, snow probably going to be a thing of the past unless it's in a shaded area. Wednesday, here comes a cold front. Mother Nature going to return in vengeance for the middle of the week.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Kansas Jayhawks have had to deal with some close games recently. Would Saturday night be any different? We'll let you know. Plus, we'll introduce you to a woman in Alma, Kansas, who just celebrated her 102nd birthday in a big way. And we want to know how you like to celebrate your birthday. And according to a new report, the American Heart Association says those dealing with type 2 diabetes do not pay enough attention to their heart. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
A car accident can associates.
For the Kansas City Chiefs, the postseason began last night, aiming to make their 3rd straight Super Bowl appearance, with the Steelers standing in the race during the Super Wild Card round. Chiefs toasting the Steelers and taking care of business pretty easily, despite the fact that it was Pittsburgh that scored the first 7 points of the game. But it was their defense that scored the first 7 points of the game, and Kansas City would roll 42-21. Patrick Mahomes, what a night. 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. Travis Kelce caught a touchdown, and Travis Kelce threw for a touchdown. He was a high school quarterback and actually played a little quarterback in his early days at Cincinnati as well. Byron Pringle, he was on the receiving end of a 42-21 beatdown. Also of note, it being Ben Roethlisberger's last game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Couple notes that I wanted to pass along here. As Patrick Mahomes becomes only the 2nd quarterback in NFL playoff history to throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. Only the 2nd quarterback ever to do that. He joins Ben Roethlisberger. Mahomes also becomes only the 3rd quarterback in NFL history to throw touchdown passes to a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, and an offensive lineman in the same game. In the NFC, Tampa Bay blows by the Eagles 31-15, and it was a frenetic finish, to say the least, in the Big D, as San Francisco beats Dallas 23-17 with Dak Prescott unable to get out of the way of the back line judge trying to spot a ball and the clock expiring on the Cowboys before they could get a final playoff. Pitt State split games against Washburn on Saturday. Men lost a heartbreaker, 80-79. The women, however, fared better, beat the Ichabod 69-56. Second straight win for the PSU women as their conference record now 6-4. Jamie Jackson and Sydney Crane, well, they just combined for 33 points. Jackson had a career-high 17. Crane added 16 and some very clutch three-pointers. Tristan Gegg, she had 12 points, all of which, kind of surprisingly, came from inside the three-point arc.
Tristan did a great job second half, finding some layups, finding some rejections, which everybody, they have to pressure up, but she can rip it. She's super quick, and so she found some ways to get on the board beside the three-point line, which is awesome. That's, again, a veteran player, not trying to force the issue, just go get something else, and so really proud of her for that, because I think those were in a couple tight moments too.
Missouri Southern men lost their second straight on Saturday, while the women did pick up a win against Emporia State. Lacey Stokes with a team-high 16 points. She also had 6 rebounds and 5 assists. And then Maddie Stokes collected a double-double, 15 points, 12 rebounds. Lane Skiles and Amaya Johns hit double digits in points. And get this, they both had 9 rebounds apiece. Lions' third win in a row. Good time to be playing well because they got a tough schedule ahead.
We get to go on the road and play Fort Hays and Nebraska Kearney, 2 of the top 25 teams in the country, may even be in the top 10. But it's going to be a big challenge, but I think our kids will be excited for it. But, we're going to have to continue to play great defense, and we're going to have to continue to take care of the basketball because both them teams are really, really good defensively, and they turn you over, which creates some easy buckets for them. So that'll be a big key for us next week when we go to Hays and Kearney is just executing and playing our style of basketball and make sure we do the positive things that we've been doing.
Kansas Jayhawks have been challenged a bit recently in their last 2 games. Lost to 25-ranked Texas Tech. Most recently, squeaked out a win against 15th-ranked Iowa State. Kansas at home on Saturday hosting a 2-loss West Virginia team. Mountaineers with the lead in the first. Jalen Bridges slams down the missed shot, and then Oche Agbaji sidestep 3-ball. We're tied at 29. It is a good first half, and then the second half hit. Kansas just absolutely dominated West Virginia. It got ridiculous. David McCormick with the jam. 19 points, 15 rebounds for McCormick. Double-digit lead for the Jayhawks. Christian Brown to Agbaji. Bucket, foul. Agbaji finishes with 20 points. Later, it's Wilson on the fast break. Season-high 23 points on the game, and what at the half even felt like a close game. Finishes with Kansas winning 85-59. Another matchup in the Big 12 on Saturday. Oklahoma State at Baylor. Off the steal, Bryce Thompson on the end for the dunk, adding to the Cowboys' lead. Keep on breaking. Avery Anderson driving layup, 15-4 off the get for Oklahoma State. Baylor turns it over once again. Thompson's going to make him pay. Thompson would finish with 19 points. Transition into the second half. L.J. Cryer, a Baylor Bear, hits the three-pointer. All our highlights evidently come from one end of the court. And then Matthew Mayer, 3 from the top of the key. Bears within 3, but then 30 seconds left of the game. Thompson steals it away. We finally got highlights from the right side of the screen. Oklahoma gets the road win over the #1 team in the country. Final score, 61-54. Rough week for Baylor up there at #1. K-State on the floor against Tech on Saturday. Wildcats down 7 in the first. Nigel Pack lighted up from 3. K-State down by 2 at the half. After the break, Red Raiders actually trailing now. Bryson Williams. Do a little launch job right there. Williams with a game-high 20 points. Later, Mark Smith. No, not that Mark Smith. This Mark Smith. And the foul off the reversal. Wildcats back on top by 5. Final few minutes here. Mark Smith. Don't leave him open. Kansas State upsets Texas Tech, 62-51. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, Prince Harry seeks the right to pay for UK police protection when in Britain. and a check on our 7-day forecast. Look at that, iced over already when the KOAM morning news returns.
It's time for nominations for the 4 state
Prizes.
Cold start on this holiday Monday. In fact, the highest we have right now is 30 degrees. We find that in Chanute. We're sitting at 27 in Joplin and in Oswego, 25 in Lamar and in Nevada. Let's go to a low 21 right now, Miami and in Grove. Let that sunshine kick in. It'll rise about 7:30. We can begin a little bit of a melt as we'll make our way all the way up into the mid-40s. Plenty of sunshine today with a little southerly breeze. Let's talk about the cold front that we've got coming on Wednesday. Monday and Tuesday, absolutely fine. In fact, Tuesday, we're going to end up throwing up some 50s up there Tuesday afternoon. Then, when we get to Wednesday, here's where it gets a little interesting, especially along and south of I-44, mainly for our southernmost counties in southwest Missouri, as we see possibility of a little freezing rain right there, and very chilly for Wednesday and Thursday, only in the 20s. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page, and our morning Insta poll as a simple call for birthday wishes turns into a community-wide celebration as a Kansas woman turns 102. Alyssa Willits has more on her special big day.
It started out as a simple request for birthday cards, but grew into a citywide celebration. Evelyn Zexer was born in Alma January 13, 1920, making Thursday her 102nd birthday.
She looks about 80, maybe. I mean, you'd never ever guess that she was 102.
I still do most of my own work. Lived here all my life and loved it.
The community came together to mark the occasion with a birthday parade. Her first stop was the church she was baptized in as a child and where she later got married. Happy birthday to you! There, she got a special surprise from the students before heading down Main Street. Along that street were several local businesses participating in Evelyn Zexer Day, like El Corral Mexican Restaurant.
I'll have one taco, ground beef.
One taco, ground beef.
$1 too. For the $1 too, yeah.
And Alma Bakery and Sweet Shop.
It's all about Evelyn today. I'm having $2 cinnamon rolls in her honor, and I've sold a lot of them, and I'm still making them.
Friends say it's the perfect example of Evelyn's impact.
She always has a smile on her face. She never says an unkind word about anyone. She's just a very kind, loving, beautiful person, inside and out.
And Evelyn says it is hard to put into words just how much this means to her.
I don't know how to explain it. It's exciting. It's exciting. I can't believe they do this for me.
102 and moving right along. Evelyn still loves getting birthday cards. In fact, this week, she received more than 100 of them. Our question for you on this morning's Insta poll: how do you like to celebrate your birthday? Gave you multiple choices there. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote and via Facebook. We'll be back with Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, health officials in Beijing have reported their first Omicron case. The patient has not had recent travel history outside the city. That's according to the Chinese government. Authorities have sealed off the neighborhood where the person lives and have begun mass testing for the population. Beijing is scheduled to hold the Winter Olympics in less than 3 weeks. So far, 7 cities in China have reported Omicron cases. Americans can now order free COVID-19 tests. The White House says it has opened the federal website covidtest.gov to place the order. Supplies will be limited to 4 tests per household. The test will ship within 7 to 12 days of ordering. Also, people with private health insurance will be reimbursed for the full cost of buying tests bought from Saturday on. President Biden recently announced that he will purchase an additional 500 million at-home tests for distribution. More than 3 million Americans have some form of diabetes. Most suffer from type 2, which is largely diet related. The American Heart Association says many of them are not reducing their heart disease risk. Mandy Gaither explains why some doctors are sending out a warning.
It's an urgent call for action to millions of people suffering from type 2 diabetes. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in diabetes.
But fewer than 1 in 5 adults suffering from this disease are doing what needs to be done to care for their heart, according to a statement published in the journal Circulation. Dr. Joshua Joseph with Ohio State University College of Medicine helped write it.
When individuals are kind of working alongside us really in a team-based way with specific targets and specific goals, they're able to achieve those goals much better.
Joseph says when caring for your heart, those with type 2 diabetes should talk to a doctor about medication, whether it's effective in lowering risk of heart disease. They should also control blood sugar, blood pressure, and cholesterol and stop smoking. He says medicines can also help decrease weight, so can lifestyle changes.
Ensuring that, they are really focusing on, physical activity, eating the right, or eating a diet that's going to help with the diabetes and not kind of worsen the diabetes.
Joseph says many Americans also struggle because of social factors.
We all know that, if you live in an environment where there's no fresh foods or just kind of maybe fast food restaurants, eating healthy is much more difficult.
He says there needs to be more of a focus on making a healthier lifestyle easier for all.
CDC says childhood obesity rates are rising, and so are the rates of type 2 diabetes in youth. Ways to lower risk include drinking more water and less sugary drinks, eating more fruits and veggies, making favorite foods healthier, and making physical activity more fun. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, Delaware County authorities arrest a man for outstanding warrants and receiving stolen property.
When you get off to a Skywatch storm tracker that looks like this, it means plenty of sunshine as long as we don't get a little midweek cool down. A holiday warm-up on the way from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, we saw our share of snow and ice over the weekend. Coming up, we've got some tips for dealing with winter weather if you have to get out on the roads.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. No doubt it's cold outside.
And we have a celestial event that's going to happen tonight, though.
Ooh.
And we can catch just a glimpse of it. I know Skycam's frozen over. We'll talk about the cold here in a second. Tanya, there she is. Now, tonight, officially, we get our full wolf moon. Tonight is the official full moon. It's looked great all over the weekend. But yeah, even through the frozen camera right there, we see it still hanging on there. And so if you're out and about tonight, it's officially full. I want to say it's 6:58. But certainly if you have a chance, even this morning, it's gorgeous. If you are out this morning, bundle up. That's for sure. Midwest is quiet, so we'll get a whole bunch of sunshine today. Northeast being dominated by that snowstorm. But it's chilly. As Tanya said, it is cold outside right now. 30 degrees is as high as we see in Chanute. Carthage right behind at 28, but we're down to the 21 right there in Miami. And all throughout southwest Missouri, our wind chills sitting anywhere between about 14 and 19 degrees. Please know that some of that snow that was able to melt just from all the travel from yesterday, it has frozen back over. Side streets especially, there are slick spots out there. And Tanya's got some great driving tips coming up for us. Sunny skies today, up into the mid-40s, so that's pretty seasonable for the most part. Now, as we shift into Tuesday, we'll actually throw up some 50s here by the time we get done with Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, here comes a big cold front. It'll work its way in on Wednesday morning. Gulf moisture starts as rain right here. That's no big deal. But as it continues to push down to the south, the moisture does, and as the cold front continues to move in, right there, see a little freezing, and snow's not going to mount anything. It's more so the freezing rain right there along and below 44 for early Wednesday morning that we're going to pay attention to, and then bundle up Wednesday and Thursday as well, as our highs are only going to be in the 20s.
Well, take care of yourself out there. Well, officers in Delaware County arrest a man with outstanding warrants involving stolen property and federal charges pending. Gerald Starr was taken into custody on outstanding warrants from the Cherokee Nation. According to Sheriff James Beck, Starr became a person of interest earlier this month when he allegedly stole a trailer. Authorities searched his property at the time, but nothing was found. Following a second search warrant, authorities located an item of interest in Starr's storage unit and alerted federal agencies. Officials say they located Starr in a stolen travel trailer at an RV park in Oklahoma following the third search warrant. Authorities say they found approximately $70,000 worth of stolen items, and more federal charges are coming. A person is dead after a shooting aboard an Amtrak train in Missouri. Suspect is still on the run. Police say the shooting happened Friday night while the train was stopped at the Lee Summit train station. Officers say the train left the station after the shooting and continued to its next stop with the wounded person still on board. Police got the initial call for the shooting at 9:15 p.m. after the train reached Independence. EMS crews declared the victim dead when they arrived. Officers say the suspect was a passenger on the train and got off the train in Lee Summit. It's unclear why the train kept moving after the shooting. The University of Kansas suspends 2 fraternities for hazing earlier this month, but officials do not plan to share their investigation with police. Phi Gamma Delta and Phi Delta Theta were both suspended from campus for 5 years because of the incidents university officials found, which included assaults, sleep deprivation, forced workouts, destruction of pledges property, and retaliation for reporting the behavior to university officials. Roads once again turned treacherous across the region, so area experts are offering some tips to stay safe when traveling on icy roads. KOAM's Bronte Soronsky spoke with those in Missouri and Kansas and has more.
Winter weather has once again returned to the 4 states. And whether you're a fan of the snow or not, you need to know how to stay safe when driving in these conditions.
We've responded to a few slide-offs today, so we haven't had a whole bunch of calls, but we definitely have had a few calls today of vehicles slid off into the ditch.
Sergeant Nate Jones with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office says they did start to see people needing assistance on Saturday due to treacherous road conditions, and offers advice to anyone who needs to be out.
If you're going to be out there, we just ask you increase your following distance, slow down. If you have your wipers on, headlights on, make sure you give yourself enough time to slow down coming up to intersections.
In southwest Missouri, road conditions are similar to those in southeast Kansas. Steve Campbell with MoDOT says their crews have been working all day to ensure all roads, even secondary ones, are safe for all Missourians.
Well, good news is that we have started on the secondaries throughout the entire 21 counties. I think we're in great shape between Springfield and Branson, and that snow kind of covered everything back up. But we'll get there. It normally takes a few hours after the snow quits flying. And so we will get there, and we will be on the secondary system across the entirety of the district.
Campbell's advice is similar to Sergeant Jones's. Take it slow, but he says if you do happen to slide off, it's important to be prepared before you even hit the road.
Put some waters in the car, gloves, hats, stuff like that, so that in the event that you do run off the road, you can at least have an opportunity to stay warm.
But most importantly, if you do need to be on the roads in these conditions, make sure to be careful. I'm Bronte Soronsky for KOAM News.
We have more tips for staying safe on our website. You can find those at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's Michael with a look at your forecast.
Clean Skywatch storm tracker. No worries whatsoever precipitation-wise. Just bundle up because wind chills are down into the teens, especially throughout southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma. Eventually, sunshine going to kick us up into the mid-40s with just a little southwesterly breeze. 2 really seasonable, if not nice days on Monday and Tuesday before the cold front bites us come Wednesday morning.
That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. We've got a story about an Eau Claire, Wisconsin man who finds and frees 2 tangled up bucks. You don't want to miss this one. Plus, the Australian Open begins down under today without the #1 men's player in the world. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Find all of your friends, Jim.
7 and running.
Topping World Watch, Prince Harry wants to be able to pay for his own police protection when he visits his grandmother, the Queen, back in the UK. Harry wants to be able to bring his son Archie and baby daughter Lilibet to visit the palace, but believes it is too dangerous. His request to pay for his family's protection was turned down by the British Home Office. The Prince's legal team started the legal challenge to allow him to hire security nearly 2 years ago. British tabloid report is reportedly forcing Prince Harry to come forward and clear the air. In summer of 2021, Harry believed his security was badly compromised as he left a charity event in London. A government spokesperson refused to comment on the controversy while the legal proceedings are underway. A last-ditch attempt by Novak Djokovic to defend his Australian Open title fails. The unvaccinated tennis superstar left the country after a court ruled that he posed a risk to public health and order. CBS's Imantaz Tiab has the details.
The world men's tennis #1 has never taken losing lightly.
How are you feeling, Mr. Djokovic?
The amended application be dismissed.
But after a federal court in Melbourne tossed out his appeal against the Australian government's decision to cancel his visa for being unvaccinated, Novak Djokovic had no choice but to pack up and go. In a statement, the 20-time Grand Slam winner said he was extremely disappointed by the court's ruling, but would respect it. A small but vocal group of supporters, many from the local Serbian community, couldn't hold back their emotions. But across much of Australia, which has endured some of the toughest coronavirus lockdowns in the world, the tennis ace had far less sympathy, with many believing Djokovic was out of bounds for trying to exploit loopholes in order to compete.
If everyone else has to follow the rules, why can't he? And obviously he thought he was above it all.
The Australian government's assessment of the situation was more pointed, saying his visa was cancelled in part over concerns that by allowing him to remain, it could stir up anti-vaccine sentiment.
Novak Djokovic's 11-day ordeal may be over as he arrives in the United Arab Emirates city of Dubai. But deportations from Australia typically come with 3-year bans on travel to the country, meaning the 34-year-old could very possibly not play competitive tennis in Melbourne for quite some time. Archaeologists discover an incredible 4,500-year-old highway in Saudi Arabia lined with ancient tombs. Aerial surveys and satellite images helped Australian researchers make the important discovery. The funerary avenue stretches for hundreds, perhaps even thousands of miles, perhaps all the way into Yemen. There are at least 18,000 tombs lining the route, and many are surprisingly well preserved. The next step is to do more radiocarbon dating to learn more about the tombs, which reach back into the Bronze Age. Amazing. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page on our morning Insta poll, it's all about your birthday. Third Monday of every January marks the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a federally observed holiday. The work of Dr. King has had seismic effects on people across the nation, and getting a little closer to home with someone's birthday, including Evelyn Zexer. Evelyn was looking forward to receiving some cards for her 102nd birthday. That's right, 102. And she was like, I'll take a card every now and then. She got something entirely else as the town of Alma, Kansas came together to mark the day with a parade and named the day in honor of Evelyn. Needless to say, the outpouring moved her on a most special occasion. To top it off, she has received more than 100 birthday cards. Our question for you this morning on the Insta poll: how do you like to celebrate your birthday? I think the demographics and age of our show are clear on that. I'm with this 78% right here. You know, presents and a party that combined for 22%. That's nice and all, but yeah, if we can just take a little time, get a good meal, spend it with friends and family. 78% of you say dining out is the way to go. You can partake each and every morning in our Insta poll. You can connect to us via our Facebook page. You can also go directly to the poll. That's at koamnewsnow.com/vote. Or if you have your phone handy, you can pop a picture of that QR code right there. That's right. All you have to do is take your phone and take a picture of that code, and each and every morning it will deliver you straight to our Insta poll. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Dear Wins.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Officers in Delaware County arrest a man with outstanding warrants involving stolen property and pending federal charges. Gerald Starr was taken into custody on outstanding warrants from the Cherokee Nation. According to Sheriff James Beck, Starr became a person of interest earlier this month when he allegedly stole a trailer. Authorities searched his property at the time, but nothing was found. Following a second search warrant, authorities located an item of interest in Starr's storage unit and alerted federal agencies. Officials say they located Starr in a stolen travel trailer at an RV park in Oklahoma following a third search warrant. Authorities say they found approximately $70,000 worth of stolen items and more federal charges coming. A person is dead after a shooting aboard an Amtrak train in Missouri. The suspect is still on the run. Police say the shooting happened Friday night while the train was stopped at the Lee's Summit train station. Officers say the train left the station after the shooting and continued to its next stop with the wounded person still on board. Police got the initial call for the shooting at 9:15 p.m. after the train reached Independence. EMS crews declared the victim dead when they arrived. Officers say the suspect was a passenger on the train and got off the train in Lee's Summit. It's unclear why the train kept moving after the shooting. Calypso Scuba in Joplin held an underwater Texas Hold'em tournament. Not just because it sounded like a cool idea. For a $20 entry fee, you could take part in the tournament, and that fee went to the Joplin area firefighters' charitable causes. There were prizes awarded to the top 4 players. Organizers say giving back is just something they love to do as often as they can. And over the weekend, the Joplin Public Library held a special presentation. It's called City of Hope, Resurrection City and the 1968 Poor People's Campaign. The poster exhibit honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s final vision for all Americans to be equal. The exhibit examines the Poor People's Campaign, which drew thousands to Washington to demand social reform while living in a tent city called Resurrection City. It features 18 posters said to help people engage with the historical and present-day relevance. City of Hope is on display now until February 28th. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Tanya, here is our daily almanac on this Martin Luther King Jr. Monday holiday, as our average high this time of year would be 45 degrees. And the reason that I point that out is because last time we popped open the daily almanac, it was 44. Love this time of year. We're finally headed up in the right direction. That being said, we still got a couple cold fronts that are going to get us here before it's all said and done. If you have a chance, that's outside of Television City, just dropped below the horizon right there. But tonight will be the official full wolf moon. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous with the clear skies that we have. And while it's not completely full this morning, you still get a great shot of it if you'll look out your door and stare out to the west. Here's a look at our regional temperatures right now. It's chilly just about no matter where you go. Nice thing is the Skywatch storm tracker remains about as clear as can be. Even the cloud cover is kicked off to our northeast right there, so we'll get plenty of sunshine. Same point in time, still got pretty good wind chill on our hands. There's a whole bunch of teens still dotting southwest Missouri, consistent low 20s throughout southeast Kansas, and then throughout northeast Oklahoma, back down 15 and 16 in Jay. There's the beginning of the wolf moon. Like I said, officially full tomorrow, but still a great shot, and we were able to penetrate that with the light, even though the tower cam over 7th and range line remains frozen. Big high pressure system throughout the Midwest, so no worries for us today or tomorrow as we'll make it up into the 50s. But then look at this cold front coming Wednesday and Thursday. Now Wednesday, just in time for the cold front, a little rain coming up here in just a little bit. We'll take a look at travel concerns along and south of I-44 and back with more KOAM morning news right after this.
Well, some hunters in rural Wisconsin are earning internet fans for deciding to save 2 animals instead of killing them. Now, video of how they helped 2 bucks tangle together has racked up more than 20 million views. Leanne Stapleton has details about the rescue.
On December 20th, Everett Sluga was on a casual drive and spotted something he'd never seen in person before.
When I got to about where we're standing right now, I thought that I saw a back of a deer. And I turned around and I couldn't understand why that deer didn't move. And when I turned around, and then I saw there were 2 bucks locked up.
2 white-tailed bucks had their racks stuck together and could not break free. Sluga let the owners of the farmland know.
They were in the creek down here, and she actually jumped them up, and they got out in the CRP field. And then I told her right away there was no saving them in the field. We had to get them in the woods. So we kind of made a little drive, and we got them in the woods, which is where, they kind of got locked down. They couldn't move, which is where we saved their lives.
Landowners Troy Rabarczyk and his wife Tammy are hunters themselves, but decided not to harvest the deer even though it was still hunting season.
I just didn't feel it was right shooting them in the situation they were in. It just didn't feel ethical to me, and I actually had my bow on them, and I pulled back on them, and I looked at Tammy. I said, I can't shoot these deer.
Instead, Rybarczyk grabbed his Milwaukee grinder out the back of his truck, cutting one antler off each, setting them free.
It's the only tool I had in my truck. It isn't the right tool for the job, but we didn't have time. I feared for both the deer's death.
In the spirit of a fair chase, John King with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources praises Rybarczyk's actions.
And this guy allowed them to enjoy a little bit of life and participate, in an ethic and a responsible way as a hunter. So I'm happy that he did this. It's a good story and good to see and hear.
If he had to do it all over again, Rybarczyk says he wouldn't change a thing.
I'm 100% positive we made the right decision by saving them rather than shooting them.
Rybarczyk says he's seen the deer since the encounter, hard to miss since they're each missing an antler, and they look healthy. We'll be back with another look at your weather forecast when we return.
At Hardee's.
5:57, roll a little weather on the 7s. Let's remember the cold front isn't coming until tomorrow, till Wednesday, excuse me. Next 2 days, sunny skies up into the 40s today. We'll roll 50s by the time Tuesday is all said and done as well. Here's the problem with Wednesday. As the cold front arrives from the north, we also get a little Gulf moisture that shows up early Wednesday morning. So while it starts as rain, you'll notice a little line of pink that begins to show up there, especially for our southern counties in southwest Missouri, indicating some frozen precipitation, a little freezing rain in there, and also to bundle up on Wednesday and Thursday. We're back with more KOAM morning news right after this.
Coming up, Delaware County authorities arrest a man for outstanding warrants and receiving stolen property.
These deal with all this snow. We're in store for a holiday warm-up, the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we saw our share of snow and ice over the weekend. Coming up, we've got tips for dealing with winter weather if you have to get out on the roads.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach, and yes, we've still got snow on the ground outside.
Let's make it 6.
It is 6.
Let's make it 6.
Yeah, we should probably load the other show.
You're just counting down.
Yeah.
Do you know why you have 5 on the brain?
It's a Monday.
Because
that's why.
you know at 5:51 tonight, we get the full wolf moon. That's
and that
you were
is
just
definitely
like you were
to
locked
howl
in.
about, Michael.
You were locked in on that.
Yeah.
Here is the morning before the full moon. It'll be here tonight. Once again, it's called the full wolf moon. Our January full moon should be full technically at 5:51. I think earlier I even said 6:51. Tanya, earlier I was using Eastern Standard Time, I know. Skycam over 7th and Rangeline. It is frozen for the most part. 25 degrees is where we stand right now, and we've got a wind chill that'll take us into the teens just about everywhere. But a clean Skywatch storm tracker indicating, while it provides for a cold morning, going to also provide for plenty of sunshine. Big snowstorm still moving across the northeastern portion of the United States, and our temperatures well below the freezing mark. Even Chanute, that was at 30 earlier, has now dropped down to 28 to join Monette right there. 21 in Miami and only 25 right now in Pittsburgh. Skywatch Storm Tracker and Future Track. All right, nice day today. Mid-40s, very seasonable. And tomorrow, we're going to roll up into the 50s. Throw some 50s up there. Now, as the cloud cover begins to move in from the south, it's got a little Gulf moisture in it. And while the moisture comes from down here, big cold front is just hanging up here. And it's going to drop down on us. And when it does, we're going to get the combo along that line. Starts out as rain early Wednesday morning. But here's what I want everybody paying attention to. We see a little freezing rain in the pink right there for Wednesday morning. Really, it's going to be below our southern counties for southwest Missouri. Everybody else is going to stay on the dry side. And then after that, we've got frigid cold temps on both Wednesday and Thursday. Look at these overnight lows on Wednesday and Thursday as well. It's yep, there we go. Look at these overnight lows between Wednesday and Thursday. Woo-hoo-hoo. Talking about single-digit wind chills on that, Tanya.
Definitely. Well, University of Kansas suspends 2 fraternities for hazing earlier this month, but officials do not plan to share their investigation with police. Phi Gamma Delta and Phi Delta Theta are both suspended from campus for 5 years because of the incidents university officials found, which included assaults, sleep deprivation, forced workouts, destruction of pledges property, and retaliation for reporting the behavior to university officials. One person is dead after a shooting aboard an Amtrak train in Missouri, and the suspect is still on the run. Police say the shooting happened Friday night while the train was stopped at the Lee Summit train station. Officers say the train left the station after the shooting and continued to its next stop with the wounded person still on board. Police got the initial call for the shooting at 9:15 p.m. after the train reached Independence. EMS crews declared the victim dead when they arrived. Officers say the suspect was a passenger on the train and got off the train in Lee Summit. It's unclear why the train kept moving after the shooting. Officers in Delaware County arrest a man with outstanding warrants involving stolen property and federal charges pending. Gerald Starr was taken into custody on outstanding warrants from the Cherokee Nation. According to Sheriff James Beck, Starr became a person of interest earlier this month when he allegedly stole a trailer. Authorities searched his property at the time, but nothing was found. Following a second search warrant, authorities located an item of interest in Starr's storage unit and alerted federal agencies. Officials say they located Starr in a stolen travel trailer at an RV park in Oklahoma following a third search warrant. Authorities say they found approximately $70,000 worth of stolen items, and more federal charges are coming. Winter storm whiteouts always bring out the hunt for two key food staples. Experts explain why. Bread and milk become the sources of life in weather food panics, and experts say that's because they're the backbone of our cooking and diet in the U.S. Other non-U.S. cultures base their diets differently, but Americans are conditioned to get them because they are perishable and are not stocked long. Experts say to avoid food panic, have 2 weeks of non-perishable supplies on hand and make emergency preparedness kits for homes and vehicles. Roads once again turn treacherous across the region. Anyone who had to be outside on the roads this weekend knows how dangerous it can be with the current conditions. And whether you're in Missouri, Kansas, or Oklahoma, Sergeant Nate Jones with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office said on Saturday they started to get calls. They had cars slide off the roads early. He offers some advice for anyone out on winter roads.
If you're going to be out there, we just ask you increase your following distance, slow down. If you have your wipers on, headlights on, make sure you give yourself enough time to slow down coming up to intersections. I know state and local road and highway crews are out, but they're focused on the primary roadways, so secondary roads could still be dangerous. But we're very thankful for the state and county guys out trying to keep the roads clear.
Sergeant Nate Jones also says on days when roads are icy, there's no need to rush, so give yourself plenty of time to get where you need to be. Make sure to take it slow. Calypso Scuba in Joplin had a cool idea over the weekend, holding an underwater Texas Hold'em tournament. For a $20 entry fee, you could take part in the tournament, and that fee went to the Joplin area firefighters' charitable causes. There were prizes awarded to the top 4 players. Organizers say giving back is just something they love to do as often as they can.
We know enough of the firemen. We know the sacrifices they make and the good things that they very quietly do for the entire community and each other, and especially little children who are, standing there watching everything they own burn up, and to be able to be handed a warm blanket and a stuffed animal, it just means the world. So we are really happy to help and to have the community come out too.
In addition, there was a chili contest, which was a perfect addition for such a cold winter's day. Over the weekend, the Joplin Public Library held a special presentation. It's called City of Hope, Resurrection City, and the 1968 Poor People's Campaign. The poster exhibit honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s final vision for all Americans to be equal. The exhibit examines the Poor People's Campaign, which drew thousands to Washington to demand social reform while living in a tent city called Resurrection City. It features 18 posters said to help people engage with the historical and present-day relevance. City of Hope is on display now until February 28th. 6:07.
And wind chills right now still ranging in the teens throughout southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma. Kansas has been consistently right at the 20-degree mark. We do not have any advisories, watches, or warnings associated with our temperatures, but make sure everybody's got multiple layers on. I know most of the kids don't have to worry about it, but for those of you out and about with early work schedules, especially if you're going to be outside, bundle up and wait for the sunshine to take effect, because we'll get into the mid-40s and then overnight drop back down to the 30s. Wind chills will be into the 20s by the time we wake up tomorrow, but let's throw up a 50 on Tuesday just for good measure. Wednesday and Thursday is when it gets interesting, especially Wednesday morning, because the cold front combos with Gulf moisture. We've got a chance for some freezing rain along and south of I-44.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the superintendent of USD 250 stops by to talk about why you should vote for the upcoming bond. Plus, U.S. hospital systems are continually overwhelmed by COVID-19. Stick with us. We'll have the latest details on that. And the truck driver shortage is continually fueling supply chain issues. We'll have how many truck drivers the U.S. needs to help fix supply chain issues. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Bradshaw.
In Consumer Watch this morning, a truck driving shortage is leading to late deliveries and shortages. American Trucking Association says the U.S. needs another 80,000 truckers. Errol Barnett spoke with Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who says solving this problem is a top priority.
Empty store shelves signal a supply chain in crisis, exacerbated by a shortage of truck drivers.
What is your reaction to seeing grocery store shelves bare? Were you shocked by that?
Oh, well, I'm very concerned about this, and it reflects the fact that as long as we go through phase after phase of this pandemic, we're seeing disruptions in supply.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg spoke to CBS News as his agency announces new efforts to bolster the number of truckers as part of the Biden administration's pledge to fix the supply chain. Announcing Thursday more than $32 million for states to improve the commercial driver's licensing process, over 100 companies committing to expand trucking apprenticeship programs, and a task force to investigate predatory truck leasing.
We've got to recruit more people into the job, and we've got to keep them there.
Drivers have been fleeing in droves, with yearly turnover hitting 90% in parts of the trucking industry.
And if the wheels aren't rolling, these guys aren't making any money.
Mickey Weaver's company connects trucking applicants with employers. Not only are there too few job seekers, he says, once they see how much time in the truck is unpaid, many quit.
I had seen a guy just this morning. He'd been sitting there for 3 to 4 hours, just sitting there, just waiting to get his truck loaded, and he's not making any money.
We need to look at these compensation issues if we really want to solve long-term challenges in trucking in the U.S.
Now, the administration's new effort includes 2 studies of detention time. That's the label for when drivers are on the job but not being paid when they're at the weigh station or perhaps sleeping on the road overnight. And that pay by the mile platform essentially encourages drivers to move extra long distances, sometimes to the point of exhaustion. Errol Barnett, CBS News, Washington.
Millions of families are starting the week without a monthly deposit from the Child Tax Credit Program after it expired. A bill that includes a provision to extend the credit is stalled in the Senate. Credit started as part of the Biden administration's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package. CDC changes its COVID guidance for cruise ships to voluntary over the weekend, and companies can now decide if they will participate. If they don't, they'll be designated as gray on the agency's cruise ship color status webpage, which means the CDC has not confirmed or reviewed their safety protocols. If cruise lines opt in, the CDC will work with ships to monitor their COVID-19 preventative measures and track their onboard cases. Venmo unveils a new gift wrapping feature so you can gift money to friends and family with a little flair. When users hit the pay or request button and add the recipient, they can choose the gift wrap icon and pick one of the designs. The recipient can unwrap their gift and claim their money. That's it for Consumer Watch. We'll be right back.
I want a company that I can trust.
On it. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Special guest in the studio, Richard Proffitt. And Mr. Proffitt is the superintendent for USD 250, the Pittsburgh School District. And Rich, I want to thank you for your time this morning. It's not every day that we talk about an election in January. Right. But that's exactly what we've got on the docket tomorrow, specifically for your school district. I'll let you talk about what voters will be showing up for.
Well, we are looking at renovating the 1921 section of our middle school, which is right along Broadway, original high school. Mm-hmm. And the Board of Education's been looking at this for quite a long time. There were several things that had to fall into place for us to look at it. Number one, we have some old bond bond series that are going to be coming off the tax rolls, which is going to allow us to raise $16.5 million to renovate this part of the building. And we can do that at a no mill increase, which means it's not going to affect people's taxes. So we believe that that's very important. It's a historic building. And
many people may not know this thing's a century old.
Yeah, it's 100 years old, and it's in incredible condition. We had an independent structural engineer come in, take a look at it, and told us that the building is in incredible shape. It's probably going to last another 100 years, and it's a beautiful building.
But that being said, things don't last forever.
Right.
So specifically, when you talk to people about the $16.5 million, what exactly are we improving on this century-old structure?
Well, there's a number of things. Pittsburgh Schools is growing. Over the last 3 years, we've grown by nearly 200 students, and we continue to grow. If you look at the housing developments that are going in, the expansion of business and industry, we just continue to grow. And at the same time, education is changing, and we are expanding a lot of our course offerings at the middle school. Middle school needs to be a time of exploration. It needs to be a time where students start figuring out what they want to do with the rest of their lives. And even if they don't have any inkling, we're building on some skills and some other things, soft skills, that are so important to the employability of our students. And so we are expanding, give us some areas to expand with our growing population and to expand those pathways.
How does this fit into USD 250's master plan? Because we've seen the improvements at the high school, we've seen the storm shelters and expansion of the elementary schools.
Right.
Yet we don't talk a lot about the middle school.
Right. There were some additions onto the middle school, but it was weight room, new gymnasium, and some locker rooms, which also double as some storm shelters. But we're at functional capacity. We don't have additional classrooms to put students in that are environmentally safe right now. We have a lot of space in that old building that unfortunately we have just not kept up on with deferred maintenance, and we should have. But we need to be able to renovate that to have a safe space to grow, to increase our pathways one more time, and to put additional students. And it's about 72,000 square feet that we're going to be renovating.
I want to draw on one of your past leadership positions to maybe kind of, if you could kind of take us down the road. You were at Chanute.
Right.
The amazing things that district has done, put together, and the way that it looks now,
right,
compared to where it looked 20 years ago when I got here. Yeah. What vision do you see for Pittsburgh 20 years from now?
Well, in Chanute, any time a bond issue comes up, sometimes it's a little bit of a tough sell. But when the finished product is done, it brings a tremendous amount of pride to the community and pride to the students. It kind of changes the environment that they are learning in, and it really does give them a little bit of a leg up and advancement. They just feel good about where they're at. They feel good about what they're learning. It gives them an opportunity to expand on the things that they want to do. In education now, it's different than it was 20 years ago. The world that we're preparing our students for is a little bit different, and that calls on us to have a little bit different environment in educating our kids when we're putting them out into the workforce or some sort of post-secondary education institution.
So once again, the polls open tomorrow for the $16.5 million bond issue for USD 250, specifically for the middle school. I'm sure that you have a Facebook page and the website where we can find more information.
We do, USD250bond.com, and they can go and they can find out lots of information, some great informational videos there.
And of course, I'd be remiss, the kids are off today with it being the MLK Junior holiday. Where do we go forward? I know there are a number of districts, including 250, took several days off last week to kind of reset with COVID and everything. Where do we go beginning tomorrow?
Well, we're going to have to assess that. We took off primarily not just because there was an increase in cases, but also we had a number of staff who were sick.
Sure.
And
when I say cases, I'm not talking student specific.
Right. Well, we need to make sure that we're guaranteeing the standard of care that we normally have, and being able to supervise the students, to feed the students, to transport the students is part of the operation of the school district. So we're going to be taking a look at that, reassessing, and as soon as we can go back safely, then we will do that. As of right now, we're planning on coming back on Tuesday, but we'll see what decisions are made today.
Rich Profit, I want to thank you for your time. Rich Profit, USD 250, a Pittsburgh School Superintendent, and we'll be back. Remember, polls open tomorrow. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
KOAM TV is seeking a responsible
Topping to Healthwatch this morning, the latest on COVID. For the third straight day, new infections nationwide top 800,000 as Omicron's bullseye heads west. CBS's Lilia Luciano has more from Los Angeles.
Omicron is straining America's hospitals with more than 21,000 COVID patients admitted every day.
They are overwhelmed right now in Kansas City. Really, since the Christmas season, we have seen incredible challenges.
Almost every American lives in a high-risk area. Florida just became the third state behind California and Texas to pass 5 million total cases. And a disturbing trend, catching Omicron on purpose. What do you tell people who say, I'm just going to get infected and get it over with?
It's a lot like playing with fire because we don't have a crystal ball that's going to tell us who's going to get a mild infection and who's going to get a more severe infection.
Dr. Nicole Van Groningen of Cedars-Sinai. Have we seen that long COVID is a risk with Omicron?
It's this lingering symptoms, cough, shortness of breath, fatigue. It's reasonable to assume that some percentage of people who get Omicron are going to develop these long COVID symptoms.
With a 47% case drop, New York's Omicron surge has eased, but a spike of violence in the subway has become a horrifying emblem of a city in disarray. On Saturday, a woman was shoved to her death on the Times Square subway tracks. Police say the suspect had a history of mental illness.
This is unconscionable. This is unacceptable. It has to stop.
Omicron may have loosened its grip in the Northeast, but according to the Surgeon General, it could be weeks before we see new infections peak nationally. Lilia Luciano, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Scottish researchers are highlighting how critical it is for pregnant women to get vaccinated for COVID-19. A new study of more than 87,000 pregnancies found preterm births, stillbirths, and newborn deaths were more common among women with COVID at the end of their pregnancy. The majority of complications were in women who had not been vaccinated. Well, people who use e-cigarettes and test positive for COVID are more likely to have symptoms, and that's compared to people who do not vape. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic found e-cigarette users experience more symptoms such as headaches, muscle aches, and pain. They also found e-cigarette users, along with tobacco smokers who had COVID-19, made more trips to the emergency room. And a new study shows the impact obesity has on the anatomy of the heart for young children. King's College London researchers found that the heart adapts to obesity and generates extra demand on the body, which may increase future cardiovascular risk. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, Delaware County authorities arrest a man for outstanding warrants and receiving stolen property.
We've got everything on this holiday morning, to a nearly full moon, a frozen sky camera, and a holiday warm-up. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, we saw our share of snow and ice over the weekend. Coming up, we've got some tips for dealing with winter weather if you have to get out on the roads. Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Let's go to Michael Hayslip, where we are coming up on a full moon.
We're getting there. We're getting closer. We're nearly full this morning, Tanya. I mean, tonight we will officially be full. In fact, it's called the Wolf Moon, is what January's full moon is. And there it is. We can even see it illuminating through the frozen tower cam at 7th and Rangeline, our usual shot of the intersection, still dealing with our freezing weekend weather, and still below 32 degrees, only 25 right now in Joplin, 26 in Pittsburgh. We've seen 28s in Chanute and Monette. Looks like Monette now the clubhouse leader at 29, and only 21 in Miami. But this afternoon, we will finally get a little bit of a melt, make it up into the high 40s, very seasonable for this time of year. And then on Tuesday, all the way up into the 50s. 2 days of nice weather. Then a cold front. Look at the clouds shift down. Gulf moisture moves in. Colder temperatures collide with that. A chance for some freezing rain throughout Wednesday morning south of I-44 in the southernmost portion of our counties in southwest Missouri. Temperatures plummeting into the 20s for Wednesday and Thursday with overnight lows in the teens.
Delaware County authorities arrest a man with outstanding warrants involving stolen property and pending federal charges. Gerald Starr was taken into custody on outstanding warrants from the Cherokee Nation. According to Sheriff James Beck, Starr became a person of interest earlier this month when he allegedly stole a trailer. Authorities searched his property at the time, but nothing was found. Following a second search warrant, authorities located an item of interest in Starr's storage unit and alerted federal agencies. Officials say they located Starr in a stolen travel trailer at an RV park in Oklahoma following the third search warrant. Authorities say they found approximately $70,000 worth of stolen items, and more federal charges are coming. Person is dead after a shooting aboard an Amtrak train in Missouri, and the suspect is still on the run. Police say the shooting happened Friday night while the train was stopped at Lee Summit train station. Officers say the train left the station after the shooting and continued to its next stop with the wounded person still on board. Police got the initial call for the shooting at 9:15 p.m. after the train reached Independence. EMS crews declared the victim dead when they arrived. Officers say the suspect was a passenger on the train and got off the train in Lee Summit. It's unclear why the train kept moving after the shooting. University of Kansas suspends 2 fraternities for hazing earlier this month, but officials do not plan to share their investigation with police. Phi Gamma Delta and Phi Delta Theta were both suspended from campus for 5 years because of the incidents university officials found, which included assaults, sleep deprivation, forced workouts, destruction of pledges property, and retaliation for reporting the behavior to university officials. And roads once again turned treacherous across the region. Anyone who had to be outside on the roads this weekend knows how dangerous it can be with current conditions, whether you're in Missouri, Kansas, or Oklahoma. Sergeant Nate Jones with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office said on Saturday they started to get calls the cars had slid off the roads early on Saturday. He offers some advice for anyone out on winter roads.
If you're going to be out there, we just ask you increase your following distance, slow down. If you have your wipers on, headlights on, make sure you give yourself enough time to slow down coming up to intersections. I know state and local road and highway crews are out, but they're focused on the primary roadways, so secondary roads could still be dangerous. But we're very thankful for the state and county guys out trying to keep the roads clear.
Sergeant Nate Jones also says on days when roads are icy, there's no need to rush, so give yourself plenty of time to get where you need to be. Make sure to take it slow. Over the weekend, the Joplin Public Library held a special presentation. It's called City of Hope, Resurrection City, and the 1968 Poor People's Campaign. The poster exhibit honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s final vision for all Americans to be equal. The exhibit examines the Poor People's Campaign, which drew thousands to Washington to demand social reform while living in a tent city called Resurrection City. It features 18 posters said to help people engage with the historical and present-day relevance. City of Hope is on display now until February 28th. Here's Michael with the latest look at your forecast.
Remember, today and tomorrow, 2 days of actual warming January weather. The full moon is tonight. Should be absolutely beautiful with mostly clear skies. But then the cold front is a-coming for us, and it'll be here for Wednesday and Thursday. Possibly some freezing rain in the far south on Wednesday morning, and very, very cold overnight temperatures. Look at that, 13 and 17 for Wednesday night and Thursday night, respectively.
That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, a British man took people hostage in a synagogue. We'll have the details on how that situation played out. Plus, birthdays. Everyone has one. Some people celebrate them and some just celebrate the day as if it's just another day. We want to know, how do you celebrate your birthday? We let you weigh in.
This with anybody?
That it killed my mom.
Brainwashed, drugged, and tortured.
How did he treat you?
Like a sex slave.
New Dr. Phil.
Weekdays at 3 on KOAM TV.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, 4 people are now safe and sound, and the suspect dead after a hostage situation Saturday in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Fox News correspondent Dan Springer has the latest on the investigation.
Is breathing a sigh of relief after a tense situation that could have ended in disaster. All of the hostages held inside the synagogue in Colleyville ultimately escaping unharmed after a tense standoff.
This is something that you don't ever expect to have in your own city.
The rabbi is a personal friend of mine.
The attacker, identified as British national Malik Faisal Akram, first came in during the synagogue's Saturday morning service. The rabbi among the 4 people held, as the hostage taker could be heard on a live stream, demanding the release of Afia Siddiqui, a Pakistani neuroscientist believed to have ties to al-Qaeda. She is currently serving an 86-year sentence in a federal prison in Texas for trying to kill U.S. military officers in Afghanistan. One hostage was released about 6 hours after the standoff began. The other 3 got out about 4 hours after that. A SWAT team entered the building, and police announced a short time later the gunman was dead.
We'll continue to investigate the hostage taker. We'll continue to investigate his contacts. Our investigation will have global reach.
Though it's not clear why the synagogue was targeted, both President Biden and the Israeli Prime Minister released statements praising law enforcement for their quick response and pledging to stand up to anti-Semitism and extremism in the United States.
This was an act of terror. This was an act of terror.
The FBI has not indicated whether the gunman shot himself or was killed by police as they entered that synagogue. None of the hostages were hurt. In Colleyville, Texas, Dan Springer, Fox News.
Well, security at Honolulu's airport is now under scrutiny after a recent string of car thefts. Rick Daysok has more on this story.
Reports of car thefts like this were on the rise at the Daniel K. Inouye International Airport this past summer, with a recent rebound in Hawaii's tourism industry. Some lawmakers blame the problem on lax security.
I'm also getting complaints about the lack of patrol, lack of security at the airport, car break-ins, homeless at the baggage claim areas.
But the state says it beefed up patrols during the Christmas season rush. It says thefts are down at the airports.
We did pick up or enforce more during the holiday season, knowing that there was more cars in the parking lot. But we also have plainclothes officers out there that are looking for that kind of somebody trying to burglarize or break into a car.
Victims say the thefts have been all too easy because the airport security cameras haven't been working for years.
Ross, how long were the cameras in the parking lot out? Because my understanding is that the cameras weren't functioning for quite some time. I thought it was 7 years. Yeah. Why wait 7 years?
That's a good question. I did get on the case of my engineers to get that rectified.
Lawmakers also criticized the configuration of the 95-year-old airport, saying it's not consumer friendly.
I mean, even walking from the garage over to the terminal across those beautiful new bridges you guys just put in, they dead end right at an elevator where if you have more than 2 people with bags, you're just sitting there waiting. While it's great that you guys are upgrading bathrooms and the other stuff along the way, it really is kind of lipstick on a pig. Then coming out of the airport, you got the baggage claims, which are kind of like 1960s caves.
State Senator Chris Lee suggested using federal money to upgrade the common areas at the airport. But the state says any major renovation also requires the approval from the airlines.
Well, that's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Hey, Tanya, just real quick, I know that during National and World Watch, you've been following the Novak Djokovic story.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, coming out this morning, France is requiring all athletes to be COVID-19 vaccinated. Novak Djokovic is your reigning French Open champion.
Now, will they allow for medical exemptions?
We're going to be covering Novak, I guess, for a while, it seems.
Yes.
All right, this morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page on our morning Insta poll, we're discussing birthdays. As of course, the third Monday of every January marks the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a federally observed holiday. The work of Dr. King affecting people across the nation, and also, too, the birthday of Evelyn Zexer. Now, Miss Evelyn, she just turned 102 years old. All she wanted were some birthday cards. The town of Alma, Kansas came together, gave her a parade, named the day in her honor. And needless to say, the outpouring moved Evelyn on this most special occasion. And to top it off, yes, she received more than 100 birthday cards. Our question for you this morning is how do you like to celebrate your birthday? Now, dining out had an early commanding lead. It's now at 46%, still our leader. But relaxing at home, now with 34% of you. Just 12% go with presents and the party. And 8% of you, I would love to know what the other is. Perhaps the infamous birthday weekend. You can always connect to us via our Facebook page. You can also go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or if you've got your phone handy, there's our QR code. And all you have to do is snap a picture of the code with the camera on your phone, and it will deliver you right to the poll, not only for this morning, but each and every morning. Now, we're going to come back, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right here in the 4 states. But first, let's head to the Big Apple, check in with Tony.
I'm Tony Nicopol. Coming up on CBS Mornings, an essay for Martin Luther King Jr. Day on the hidden legacy of Alberta Williams King, Dr. King's mother, and her influence on him and by extension the country. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
Play for your chance to win over 900.
We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Donald Marshall from Farmington and Pittsburgh, Kansas. He served in the U.S. Army Veterinary Corps from 1966 to 1967. He also won the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Service and Vietnam Campaign Medals, and the Good Conduct Medal. We thank you, Donald Marshall, today's 4-state hero.
Weekend, Logan Maloney celebrated his first birthday. That kid's got style right there. That is an amazing hat, Sir Logan, and a very happy birthday to you in Carl Junction. That is the definition of wonderment. I would love to know what caught his attention in that picture. That's tremendous.
Love that picture. Quinlan Horn celebrating birthday number 5 this year. Somebody's a My Little Pony fan, I think.
I
Quinlan
like that.
is celebrating in Pittsburgh.
Daisy Mack, there she is. Miss Daisy celebrating her 7th birthday. It looks like we have warmer temperatures when that picture was taken. Happy birthday, Daisy in Galena.
All right. And in Pittsburgh, Alexia Davis turning 14 years old this year. Happy birthday to you, Alexia.
We got a couple of 16-year-olds, and we'll start with Cooper Bauer, celebrating with man's best friend right there. Cooper, a happy 16th to you in Parkland. Now, Tanya, I want to point out this picture. I want to point out this picture right here. He's in the passenger seat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. 16 now. Next year, we're going to flip that picture around. Get Cooper in the driver's seat. He's in Parsons.
I bet that's going to happen. All right, in Iola, Kansas, also turning 16.
There we go.
It's Ben Kerr.
Took that thing out of the ocean, man.
Yeah.
Nice job, Ben. Nice job.
Makes you long for warmer days there, looking at that picture.
Kogi Barter celebrating the big number 21. And Kogi, these birthday wishes come from Bobby, Codge, Trent, Bill, Peebo, and Cod Pepper. My goodness. That's what I'm talking about. A happy 21st in West Mineral.
All right. I love the names there. That's awesome. In Uniontown, Sean Pritchett is turning 32 years old this year. Hope you have a great one, Sean.
Kevin Covey is turning 41. Mr. Kevin, a very happy birthday to you in Ellsmore.
In Jasper, Heather Buchanan celebrating the big 4-4 this year. Happy birthday, Heather.
Angie Lockmiller, a happy 44th birthday. Oh, look at you. Look who slides into Angie's picture right there. I see how it is. Uh-huh. Angie, thank you for taking care of that gentleman on your left right there, and a very happy 44th birthday to you. Now, she's off today. She's a 3rd grade teacher at Lakeside. We love our Lakeside teachers, and so I want everybody tomorrow, when you return, say happy birthday to Miss Angie.
All right. And in Edna, Kansas, Michael Cook celebrating birthday number 52 this year.
Run out to Neosho Falls for Ron German's 57th birthday. Ron, a very happy birthday to you, sir.
All right. And Clifford Birdsong, one of our many 4-state heroes. We thank you for your service. And Gerard turning 96 years old. Happy birthday, Clifford.
Happy birthday, Mr. Birdsong. Johnny Zwollen, a happy birthday in Chetopa. Linda Payton, now get this. You hang on, folks, down in War Dog country, because this is going to be a busy day.
Yeah,
Okay.
somebody knows where to party.
Linda Payton gets us started. Linda Payton, a happy birthday in Miami. Jimmy Salter, he is celebrating his 66th birthday. Now, Jimmy is in Miami, and Carol Daniels, she's celebrating a birthday as well. Happy birthday to Carol in Miami.
All right, well, the party doesn't end
We
there.
got to be done, right?
No, because Grace Cunningham is celebrating a birthday. Guess where?
Miami?
In Miami. And also in Miami, Juanita Hale, happy birthday to you. But we're not done.
Oh my gosh.
Janet Vaughn in Miami, happy birthday.
That is crazy. I don't know if we've ever had a run like that before. That's tremendous.
It's a good one for Miami.
Run down to Miami after the noon show. We're going to find a place to get cake, I guarantee you that much. Pat Vader, a happy birthday with love from Rocky, Destiny, and the whole family as Pat is in Joplin. And Ruby Belden, a big number 3. Look at the smile on that face right there. Ruby, we want you to have a marvelous birthday, kiddo, as she's in Baxter Springs. A happy birthday and happy anniversary to all. Now here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of a KOAM birthday club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM birthday club today.
We got a great story when we flip on over to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. In that cockpit right there is a teenager who's out to break a world record. We actually talked about her when she first decided she was going to pull this off. Now we get to update her current plans. That's over on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be back. Let's roll a little future track when we return right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Officers in Delaware County arrest a man with outstanding warrants involving stolen property and pending federal charges. Gerald Starr was taken into custody on outstanding warrants from the Cherokee Nation. According to Sheriff James Beck, Starr became a person of interest earlier this month when he allegedly stole a trailer. Authorities searched his property at the time, but nothing was found. Following a second search warrant, authorities located an item of interest in Starr's storage unit and alerted federal agencies. Officials say they located Starr in a stolen travel trailer at an RV park in Oklahoma following a third search warrant. Authorities say they found approximately $70,000 worth of stolen items and more federal charges on the way. One person is dead after a shooting aboard an Amtrak train in Missouri. The suspect, we're told, is still on the run. Police say the shooting happened Friday night while the train was stopped at the Lee Summit train station. Officers say the train left the station after the shooting and continued to its next stop with the wounded person still on board. Police got the initial call for the shooting at 9:15 p.m. after the train reached Independence. EMS crews declared the victim dead when they arrived. Officers say the suspect was a passenger on the train and got off the train in Lee Summit. It's unclear why the train kept moving after the shooting. Calypso Scuba in Joplin holds an underwater Texas Hold'em tournament, but not just because it sounded like a cool idea. For a $20 entry fee, you could take part in the tournament, and that fee goes to the Joplin area firefighters' charitable causes. There were prizes awarded to the top 4 players. Organizers say giving back is just something they love to do as often as they can. Over the weekend, the Joplin Public Library held a special presentation called City of Hope, Resurrection City in the 1968 Poor People's Campaign. The poster exhibit honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s final vision for all Americans to be equal. The exhibit examines the Poor People's Campaign, which drew thousands to Washington to demand social reform while living in a tent city called Resurrection City. It features 18 posters said to help people engage with the historical and present-day relevance. City of Hope is on display now until February 28th. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Chilly right now. These are actual temperatures. It's way below freezing for the most part. We've got a couple high 20s in there, but that's about as good as we're going to get until we get some sunshine that'll warm us up into the mid-40s. Very seasonable for this time of year, dipping overnight back down into the 30s. Wind chills for tomorrow morning in the 20s. Put future track into motion here. How about 50s on Tuesday? That's going to be hard to beat. Now, massive cold front going to move in early Wednesday morning. And combo that with a Gulf moisture, we got a chance to see a little freezing rain right there in the pink, especially for our southern counties of southwest Missouri. And ridiculously cold temperatures overnight for Wednesday and Thursday. High or lows down to 13 and 17 for those 2 days.
All right.
Whew.
Today should be a nice day to get out there and enjoy what's left of the snow before it melts.
We get some sunshine too before we get to the weekend. So
all right. Thanks, Michael. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making Southern potato bake in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Also, police in the United Kingdom say they've arrested 2 teenagers in connection with this weekend's hostage standoff in Texas. That's first on CBS Mornings. The rabbi who survived the harrowing situation talks about how he and his congregation are now doing.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we talk about the latest release of Macbeth, which won Denzel Washington an award.
I'm all about that action. Yeah. All right, bundle up out there. Enjoy some afternoon sunshine. Do me a favor. Be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.